Three cars now sounding healthy, sounding in fact very little different to when they started the race, have lined themselves up as we come into the last 2 laps of this 1988 Le Mans, and it looks as if Jaguar and Tom Walkinshaw have been able to keep that promise that they made when they first competed 3 years ago. All the flags are going, the crowd are surging forward, they've climbed what appeared to me to be impregnable barriers to get across the road, and it's only when we come into the pit area here that we'll see whether or not that massive crowd are going to mean that this is the last lap of Le Mans as the Jaguars come into the pit area.
Checkered flag, they've done it. Jaguars have won the 1988 Le Mans 24-hour race which they set out to do.
In 1988, Jaguar completed a promise which they made 3 years prior, to win Le Mans. They shattered Porsche's dominance, and Jan Lammers, Andy Wallace and Johnny Dumfries wrote themselves into motorsport immortality, the 3 men that brought down the Porsche empire at Le Mans. And today we're going to drive that very car, the number 2 car, which its sole victory was at Le Mans. We're going to throw this wonderful machine, this wonderful V12 beast, around Donington in a traditionally cloudy British day. And my oh my, what a soundtrack we are bringing. So let's talk about it. That wonderful engine producing that fantastic engine note. It's a wonderful 7-litre V12, and it is punchier than any naturally aspirated engine you could ever come across. It just pulls for days. Just a monster of a machine. Now, the XJR-9 model itself debuted at the 24 Hours of Daytona, which it won. It also came 3rd, meaning that Porsche were only on 1 step of the podium for that race. And this kind of spelt the end for Porsche, or the beginning of it anyway. Because Jaguar came to Le Mans with great confidence that they could execute their end goal in year 3 of their 6-year plan. Ooh, getting a little bit happy on the throttle there. This car itself, the number 2 car, chassis 488, she was a bit of a troubled child, we'll call it. That calendar year, all the races that she'd entered before Le Mans had DNF'd through various mechanical issues. So the fact that this car won the whole damn thing at Le Mans was a surprise to everyone, including Jaguar themselves. But what a machine it is. Designed by Tony Southgate, he created a car that was both slippery in a straight line and good in high-speed corners. Of course, this is around the time where ground effects and undercar downforce was still a bit of a thing. You've got 2 massive Venturi tunnels under the car with a diffuser bolted to the back of it at the rear end that produces a ridiculous amount of downforce. Then you got the wheel covers, which are rather aptly named by the drivers, as you'll have to excuse my French here, but they literally, and I quote, called them piss flaps because of the amount of spray that they would produce in wet conditions. Fortunately, it's quite dry today, so we don't have to worry about that. But they helped with the aerodynamics. 10% better aero, just having those on the car. So they squeezed every ounce of performance out of this car. You know, the simple things such as the single plane rear wing that was lower down than the Daytona car. Just simple things that revolutionised how this car behaved. All of that, along with the ridiculously powerful V12 behind me, and this car can reach a top speed of 240 miles an hour. I don't think we'll be going 240 miles an hour today, certainly not at Donington. There isn't a straight long enough, but I could totally believe that this thing will fly along at that speed without batting an eyelid. It wasn't all easy for Jaguar throughout the race. There were many Jaguars that went into the race. Only 3 of them finished due to various mechanical and electronic problems. The number 1 car, which failed to finish. Martin Brundle drove one of those, but it had a gearbox failure, and one of the drivers from the number 1 car came over to Jan before he started his final stint and just said, be careful with the gearbox, because what happened to me was it would just pop out of gear without warning to the point where it just wouldn't go back in. So just take it easy on the revs, look after the car, just bring it home. And Jan, with those words ringing in his ears, went on to do his final 2-hour stint. But partway through that, despite looking after the car and being nice to it, being easy on the revs, went to go for 3rd gear and it wasn't there.
And then I was driving the car and I put in from 2nd to 3rd and it jumps out of gear. Because for me, I felt like it's impossible, we can't lose this race. 2nd to 3rd jumps out of gear, 3rd to 4th, and it engages. So it was locked in gear, and I, at that moment, with Raoul sort of ringing in my ear like that the whole box blew up then, I didn't touch the gear lever anymore.
He even did a pit stop whilst in 4th gear. He pulled away from the pits in 4th, so he went from stationary back up to racing speed without changing gear. And at that point, that was when Jaguar realised there's a problem. But they didn't say anything. They just let him get on with the job. What they did say was to the other 2 drivers for Jaguar that were out there at the time, get behind him. We think there's a problem with the gearbox. If it blows up, we want you to push him across the line. Which is what led to that iconic photo line finish. The finish line picture that everyone kind of points at when we talk about 1988. They were there purely as insurance. But Jan managed to keep the car going, kept it nice and steady, and made sure that the car came home to win Le Mans in fantastic fashion. And when they took the gearbox apart, the damage that was caused whilst he was driving round, they literally said if you change gear, the car would have stopped. So it really is one hell of a story. It really is one hell of a car. And in my personal opinion, I don't think the XJR-9 is talked about enough when it comes to iconic racing cars. Group C in itself gets talked about a lot as a incredible breed of racing cars that the likes we will never see again, which is a very sad thing to say, but these old dinosaurs are still knocking around on circuits from time to time. But this particular car, the XJR-9 as a whole, was an absolute machine.
and it will be 35 years this year since this car won at Le Mans. There's not much fanfare about it, but then I suppose that kind of summarises the car really. It came in with a job to do, it did it, and then a couple of years later it left. Its younger brother, the XJR-12, won Le Mans in 1990, but that was when the track had somewhat been ruined because Sauber decided to bolt in a jet engine to their C9 to beat this thing. Kind of ruined the fun really. But what a car this thing is. One last lap. Let's give it some.
I think the other thing I love about this car is that it's a perfect example of what can be achieved when we all have a common goal. Great minds coming together and creating something simply wonderful. And because of this, a promise made in 1985 by Jaguar was well and truly kept. And in doing so, brought so much joy. You look at how much joy it brought to all those British fans who stormed the track. And I think in times like today, it's a reminder that humankind can achieve absolutely anything when we all pull together.
Checkered flag, they've done it. Jaguars have won, and they've brought great joy to the huge British contingent in this vast crowd. Many, many people have come over. We're told 50,000 British spectators.